things like that, they are the closest brightness level. Okay. Some people might use them for residential security. I'm not too sure about that because of the sheer brightness of them. Metal halides are used in car headlights as well. Okay. Any questions on this one?
Do you know a problem that I had with changing them is sometimes the starters, you know the circuit that you showed, the starter is on the outside, but I've noticed with some lamps, the starters, the capacitor is inside the lamp.
Yes.
So when I went to change it with a different lamp, I put it in and it wouldn't start. And then the guy told me there's a little triangle on the lamp with an eye inside it, which means the starter's inside it.
Yes.
Yeah, that.
The best way to work with these when you're changing them is to actually take the old one out and go down the wholesalers. And you will find with some of them, the wholesaler will go, we don't stock that one on the shelf. And I've had it numerous times, especially with the older street lighting, where they go, because of that exact reason, with the starter being built into the lamp, they go, oh, we haven't got that. Okay? So it is a pain in the arse and you have to order it and wait a week for it to turn up. Okay? We've got our low pressure sodium vapour. These are our orange lights, most commonly used on the motorway. These are a colour rendering index of 5. Okay? Yeah. Means that you can't really see the colour very well. If you think about the old street lights, you could never see it very well, could you? Right? You could look at something white and you think it was orange because of how orange the light is. If it was 100, it would be a pure white light. Okay? These take time to reach their full brightness. The average life expectancy is 16,000 hours. Applications used where colour rendering is not of major importance. So these are your motorway lights. Okay? Because we don't need to see the colour of the car that we're about to run into the back of. Okay? They are still used for some car park floodlights and general outdoor commercial and industrial uses where you don't need to be able to see colours. Okay? The orange light is always the better one for foggy conditions, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Right? It's something to do with the way that the light reacts with the fog. That pure white light bounces back at you, whereas the orange light, not being as pure, actually passes through it. Okay? You've got your low pressure sodium. Okay? This is your D-shape. Okay, these ones have a starter system in them to help with the cathodes to bridge through the vacuum, and inside these it's an iodine tin oxide gas, okay, to help this one work. Okay, I don't want to go into too much detail on these because of the fact that you're going to get one question on lighting and they normally base it on the actual calculations. Okay, this is more that you know the rough names of the lamps that you might see, depending on how the systems work on. Okay. You've got high pressure sodium vapour. Okay, these have a colour render index of 100 lumens per watt. Okay, they will take time as with the others to reach full brightness. Require specialist control gear. Average life 16,000 hours. Applications were major importance, for example, industrial installations, street lights, tunnels, underpasses. This is where they tend to use these because the colour because of the efficiency of it. The colour index is still quite low though, it's only 24. So it's not a white light yet. Okay? So these sodium vapours have an external starter to help them get going. It's one of those things you just have to watch out for when you are checking if they're working or not. Is just checking for the output of the starter to see if they are still working. Okay? We've got our energy saving compact fluorescents. How many of you guys have got one of these installed in their homes?
Yep.
Quite a few of them, okay? When we look at these compact fluorescents, they are actually pretty much the same as a standard fluorescent light fitting, okay? The difference is though, all of that control gear, that ballast, the capacitor, is now miniaturized, okay? And it's actually all in here, okay? So every time you change that lamp, you're changing the control gear, you're changing the capacitor, okay? It's all inside of it now. So this is now our miniature version of our fluorescent light fitting, okay? LEDs, okay? 90% less energy then they use 90% less energy than the old incandescents. Okay? They've got a life expectancy of 25 to 30 years. Has anyone ever managed to reach that yet with any of theirs?
Mine's going about 7 years strong so far.
7 years. That's cracking, that. I've got some which are about 4 years, about 5 years old, 5 ones, which are doing quite well. Okay? They give out their light as quick as they start up. Okay, so you can see the benefit now of comparing them to a lot of the old sodium and metal halides. These are instant, boom, your light is there. So you can see the benefit now, can't you? Okay? You've also got the fact that that's going to be using 90% less energy than the others. Okay? The lights don't contain mercury. Okay? The LEDs, like halogens, work fine in low temperatures. Okay? They actually last longer in the lower temperatures you put them in. They last longer. Okay? The LEDs have an efficiency of up to 200 lumens per watt. So you think that's the most effective one we've seen so far, isn't it? For 1 watt you put in there, you get 200 lumens out. Okay? The colour rendering index, when this was made, was between 70 and 90. They are now up to about 70 to 99. Okay? The full brightness achieved immediately. No control gear required. Average life expectancy of 30,000 hours.
What do you say no control gear? What is that actually?
So if you think of a fluorescent tube, okay, so this one here, that's a fluorescent tube conversion kit. Okay? So if I want to convert a fluorescent light fitting, in fact I've done it myself before, you can buy these tubes and fit them in. They actually get 50 volts, 230 volts. So you can connect up the live and negative, and it works. So you can actually take out the ballast from the old fluorescent light fitting and bypass it and just put live and neutral through. Okay? And that's why they don't need control gear. They've got built into them a transformer and that to drop down the voltage to what it requires to operate. Okay? Quite commonly used in domestic and commercial. In fact, they're used everywhere nowadays, aren't they? Okay. The great thing about them as well is that they really are half the electricity of what the old fittings were. Okay.
Are they expensive to buy?
The conversion kits, when I last bought one, it was £15 a tube, which is more expensive than buying a fluorescent tube.
So, like, roughly, how long will it take to pay for itself to be worthwhile? It must be worthwhile already, yeah.
Right, so let's get one up.
Because the fluorescents come in cool white or warm white. Do the LEDs just come in pure white?
You can get cool white, warm white, daylight. And that's the same as the fluorescent tubes. You can get them cool white, warm white, and daylight.
I'm thinking daylight is the best, so why would anyone choose anything else?
Different people like the different colours. Some like the more orange light.
I like the orange. I hate really bright white lights. I much rather do my room's orange lights.
With the more white light, it's actually more on the blue scale. And they always say that blue light isn't great for you before you go to bed.
It's really harsh.
So if you've got white light, pure white light, there's a lot of blue. It's more on the blue scale.
Yeah.
So it's more likely to keep your mind awake thinking it's daylight.
Okay.
There's some psychology behind its benefits.
It's like your phone before a certain time at night. Your phone has the thing where it turns your screen a bit more orange. That's for the sake of getting your eyes more used to
Okay.
that sort of colour.
This is your replacement for a 50 watt fluorescent light fitting. So the LED only uses 20 watts. So you're saving instantly by changing over to this LED tube. You're going to be saving, what is that, 38 watts of energy when that light fitting's in use. And this one, they've come down in price since I bought them. This is now only £6.23. Okay. When I last bought one, it was about 5 years ago when they first sort of came out. and the ones which I bought 5 years ago are still going strong in the shop front, which I fit them in. Okay. And that's the Limbury Post Office and news agents around the corner. They asked me to have a look at their shop front lights because they'd stopped working.
The one next to Tesco's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. They've got LEDs in their shop front sign now because they didn't want to change the shop front sign, and I didn't know if the ballasts were going to be okay or not. I said to him it's going to be far cheaper for me to fit one of these than go up there, find the ballast isn't working, have to then try and source a ballast, because he didn't want to change that fitting. So with the fact that these can go into the old control gear, so you just put them in, put the blanking starter in, and just turn it, and it starts to work perfectly. And if you go into one where the ballast isn't working, you just take the ballast, disconnect it, take the live neutral, and connect them across. And it then bypasses the ballast and works perfectly, still going through the old fitting. Okay, that's why I find these are so much easier to fit nowadays. It's because if you get there, the ballast is working, it just clips in. If the ballast isn't working, you just bypass it. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
And for £6.23, you save all your money. Let's see how much a 58-watt tube is. So for the cost of £4 extra to convert it to LEDs and save money.
Also, Osram ones, just the ones with.
If you go for Osram, they're the more expensive ones. These are city prices, so it's always going to be overpriced. So you go, you can pick up an Osram for about £1.90. But the difference is you start to more than half the electricity bill by converting it, so it pays for itself. They're both supposed to last just as long as each other. So seems a bit cheap, £1.90 for an Osram. It's all down to what the customer wants nowadays, isn't it? If they're more than happy for the extra price of converting it to LED, the usual argument there is that the running cost is halved. And if you go to them, for about £3 more, I'm going to halve your energy bill. They go, yeah, let's go for it. Okay. This building, they replaced 80% of the light fittings, and they reduced the energy bill for the building by half, just by changing the light fittings in it. Okay. Albeit it's absolutely comical when you see the guys trying to fit. So the LEDs are redesigned 1.5mm cables for domestic light fittings, aren't they?